All right, guys, section 503.060, improper use of physical force in self-protection. Notwithstanding the provisions of KRS 503.050, the use of physical force by a defendant upon another person is not justified when 1. The defendant is resisting an arrest by a peace officer recognized to be acting under color of official authority and is using more force than reasonably necessary to effect the arrest, although the arrest is unlawful, or 2. The defendant, with the intention of causing death or serious physical injury to the other person, provokes the use of physical force by such other person, or number 3. The defendant was the initial aggressor, except that his use of physical force upon the other person under this circumstance is justifiable when A. His initial physical force was non-deadly and the force returned by the other is such as he believes himself to be in imminent danger of death or serious physical injury, or B. He withdraws from the encounter and effectively communicates to the other person his intent to do so, and the latter nevertheless continues or threatens the use of unlawful physical force. Excuse me. All right, this is 503.070, protection of another. Excuse me. One, the use of physical force by a defendant upon another person is justifiable when A. The defendant believes that such force is necessary to protect a third person against the use or imminent use of unlawful physical force by the other person, and B. Under the circumstances as the defendant believes them to be, the person whom he seeks to protect would himself have been justified under KRS 503.050 and 503.060 in using such protection. 2. The use of deadly physical force by a defendant upon another person is justifiable when A. The defendant believes that such force is necessary to protect a third person against imminent death, serious physical injury, kidnapping, sexual intercourse compelled by force or threat, or other felony involving the use of force, or under those circumstances permitted pursuant to KRS 503.055, and B. Under the circumstances as they actually exist, the person whom he seeks to protect would himself have been justified under KRS 503.050 and 503.060 in using such protection. 3. A person does not have a duty to retreat if the person is in a place where he or she has a right to be. All right, moving on. 503.080, protection of property. Number 1, the physical use, the use of physical force by a defendant upon another person is justifiable when the defendant believes that such force is immediately necessary to prevent a. the commission of a criminal trespass, robbery, burglary, or other felony involving the use of force, or under those circumstances permitted pursuant to KRS 503.055 in a dwelling, building, or upon real property in his possession or in the possession of another person for whose protection he acts, or B. theft, criminal mischief, or any trespassory taking of tangible, movable property in his possession or in the possession of another person for whose protection he acts. Excuse me. Number 2. The use of deadly force by a defendant upon another person is justifiable under subsection 1 only when the defendant believes that the person against whom such force is used is A. attempting to dispossess him of his dwelling otherwise than under a claim of right to its possession, or B. committing or attempting to commit a burglary, robbery, or other felony involving the use of force, or under those circumstances permitted pursuant to KRS 503.055 of such dwelling, or C. committing or attempting to commit arson of dwelling or other building in his possession. 3. A person does not have a duty to retreat if the person is in a place where he or she has a right to be.